Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for Walking Dead and Z Nation. Both are coming together for this video. One of the things that some people asked me to do was to compare and contrast Walking Dead from Z Nation, and basically describe things that both do, great, or maybe that one did better over the other in some respects. And I'm going to be starting that video series as well. Today's is going to be based on plot lines and basically just going over what I thought about Z Nation's first season in comparison to some of the things that Walking Dead has done. Just in case you are not caught up with the end of Walking Dead or Z Nation, if you're not caught up to the point, there may be spoilers that you may hear, so if you're not caught up with either series, please don't watch the video or else you will be spoiled. Okay. Now, obviously, Z Nation has only been around for one season, and Walking Dead does have a 4 seasons, advantage over Z Nation that basically you can watch. I mean, there's 5 whole seasons of Walking Dead, but this is going based off of first impressions of some of the things that I saw on Z Nation and on Walking Dead. And overall, in comparison to the first season of Z Nation, I feel like Walking Dead has an advantage on it when it comes to story arcs. Which, you need two different kinds of things. You need arcs and you need episodes that can keep things interesting all the time. And that's something that I feel is very important for a series. But Walking Dead does a better job of establishing the arc of, the storyline that you want to use. Walking Dead definitely does a lot of good things they did good things with the prison, Glenn and Maggie's relationship, characters' relationships with each other, characters getting killed off. You can see and look back over Walking Dead's timeline, and you just see that, everything built up to everything. And you can really go back and do a better job of, graphing where you were at and how you got to where you are. How Carol has transformed, how Glenn and Maggie has transformed, Rick and Carl's relationship, Michonne as a character, Tyrese, kind of, having those moments of, being like that violent person that, you may be expected to be in The Walking Dead versus being the peaceful guy that he is. Herschel becoming the moral compass. Shane becoming, I mean, I can go on and on and on. I think you're getting it. Just Walking Dead does better job with arcs. Z Nation, in many ways, did decent. One of the things that they always tried to do was to note what this is about. This is a mission. So technically, it's a season arc, where we're trying to get to California because we want to basically get Murphy to the doctor and get this thing cured and, start life over and try to make things better for our world. So you have an overall arc. But, one of the things that I found was Z Nation did certain arcs great, but not others. And one of the things that I point to a little bit is perhaps the relationship between Warren and Garnett. I think that, if they would have made a few more hints to that along the way, then it would have been more believable. And I think that sometimes when you watch a show, you want to see how everything progressed rather than just all of a sudden wake up and this is how it is. Which is another thing that I thought about with Sisters of Mercy. As much as I like that episode, in some ways, I also get a little, not, it doesn't make me believe that things like this can happen that quickly. And again, I mean, that's just my opinion. Everybody's entitled to whatever they want to think, but sometimes I wish that they would have done a 2-part episode with that. I think that a lot of the episodes could have had, 2 episodes for that storyline. And I think that overall Z Nation did a great job of balancing things out pretty well. Like with the cannibals, they kind of introduced that in the second episode and then really brought it on in the third episode. You could have even done a two-part episode with the church and the compound in Texas if you really wanted to. But I think that overall, we could have had a two-part episode with Sisters of Mercy, and I think I would have been able to believe more about, Addie deciding to leave Mac rather than, stay with him. I think it just happened too quick. Like, I understand that, you had the episode before with Die Zombie Die Again where she finally comes to realize that she did kill her mother, as a zombie. But you take that break and you have Going Nuclear as an episode, and then you just come back and too much has happened behind the scenes where you don't really get that chance to see exactly what all's going on. And it seems like things just happen too quick. Like, the only thing that we got to see is Addie basically crying, saying that she killed her mom, but then by 2 episodes later, she's just like despondent, and then she becomes like this fanatic for the Sisters of Mercy. And I just think that in many ways, if they would have stretched that out over a 2-part episode and maybe even aired Going Nuclear after Tsunami and then put Die Zombie Die Again and then had Sisters of Mercy, I think that we could have had a better understanding of Addie's development. Again, that could have been a better arc that they could have done. And that's just something that they needed to work on for certain storylines. Now, others they did a pretty decent job with. I think they did a good job with Murphy's arc. I think it was very great to see the development of Murphy. I think it was also great to see, the progress that they were making across the United States. I thought that was great. 10,000 was definitely a great arc, seeing who he was and seeing him be explored a little bit. I think they did some good things. I just think that Walking Dead has a better ability at this moment of being able to, take a lot of arcs and make them perfect. Like Glenn and Maggie's relationship didn't just one day sprout out of the blue. You could see it develop. And just a lot of other things. I could name a lot of storylines, that have developed over time, especially with the governor. You see that things can form out, and you can go back and you can be like, oh, that event caused this to happen, and I think that if Z Nation works on that a little bit, then they can show that they really do have a better ability to make an arc or just do just as better as Walking Dead. But both of them definitely do a good job of keeping the audience interested, which is something that is very important. I think that Z Nation does do a good job of making stories, and so far, I'm overly impressed with Z Nation's ability to be able to have each episode, for the most part, be interesting in itself, which is something that Walking Dead, which of course doing the arcs can kind of work against you in a way. Because if you're trying to build towards something, you do have to slow things down a little bit. Again, it's kind of like what I was saying. We could have all of a sudden had, Maggie and Glenn hook up one day and bam, married. You get what I'm saying. You could have done that, but it would have been a little shocking. But, when you do arcs, and a lot of them, which Walking Dead does, then you have to time them out appropriately. And sometimes you get episodes that just are not as interesting. A lot of, about half of the episodes in season 4, after, the mid-season finale, I felt like were too slow. You get Still, as a good example of that, where, they were trying to stretch out an arc, but it was very slow going. You see that, I think, in a couple of areas with season 4. Like, season 4 is a good season, but when they were starting to get towards this arc of changing Rick and changing the circumstances of the group by having the prison attacked, it took a while to build up to that. And you had those 2 episodes with the governor that were even trying to build up to what the heck was the governor doing and why did he do what he did. And you bring that all together and it slows things down, which can be a disadvantage for your show because, you want to try to keep the audience interested. But Z Nation has the better ability of being able, in my opinion, to make you want to come back and see what happens next week because they're going to make it interesting. Even though we have characters growing. We have Murphy that we're trying to get to California. They stopped along the way and they had a lot of different missions. With the cannibals, the soldiers, the Sisters of Mercy, the people at the church and the Texas compound, the nuclear power plant. I mean, they just made so many different episodes where in itself you were like, whoa, like this is a new story and this is interesting. And I think they dealt overall with them very well. Being able to show how interesting the show really is and to show how different people are surviving in the apocalypse. I think that that was a very good idea for Z Nation to be able to have each episode, providing that unique kind of excitement. It doesn't mean that that has to be the case for next season, but I think that when you watch Z Nation, you have more of an expectation that each episode is going to be exciting in itself, and really a lot of those episodes can stand on their own as great episodes, almost like little mini movies if you want to look at it that way. Whereas Walking Dead, you more have to, I feel like you can watch Too Far Gone on its own and get a lot of excitement out of it. A couple episodes in season 3 I think stand on their own, like Seed, This Sorrowful Life when Merle dies. I think that those kind of episodes can stand on their own. But overall, with Walking Dead, you kind of have to watch it week to week to week and see things progress. And not saying that's a bad thing, but sometimes you want to have that balance. And I think that overall Z Nation had the better ability of being able to provide me with each week with a unique kind of story that made you excited to see how it was going to turn out versus, you predicting, this is probably going to happen. You had no way of predicting really what was going to happen with Z Nation. And I think in many ways, they got off to a good start on that. But again, both series have their, great things about them. And again, depending on the kind of story you're trying to tell or your own personal belief about what you want out of a show is going to change what you perceive to be good and bad. I mean, some of you may think that Z Nation actually does a good job with arcs. And again, I said they do with some, but I think that with others they could have done a better job, especially with that Mac and Addie development, Garnett and Warren, and just not putting Tsunami in there. I'm gonna definitely hold true to that. I tell you, that'll be like my one complaint of Z Nation's first season is that episode. They could have definitely done like a 2-part episode with that. And I will say the same thing for like season 4. I mean, still is not a bad episode, and I can also see the value, especially when you see Beth now and what she's become and what happened. I think that you can look back on that episode and really see that it makes a lot of sense in the story, and it really did develop things a lot. But other times you kind of wish they would have combined a couple of those storyline elements with Alone, or they would have done something different than just Beth getting a drink. You get what I'm saying. But everybody has their own opinion. But I think that those are my starting points right now for comparing and contrasting Z Nation and Walking Dead. So I'm going to bring this video to a close. And guys, I want to thank you again for watching. If you all have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos coming. If you have any video topics that you would like to suggest, don't be afraid to do so. I have plenty of ideas, but I'm always looking for more. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.